guys, I'm Aussie Villain, and I do year-round out of the park baseball content. So if you are new to the channel, make sure that you are subscribing and ringing the bell so you know when I upload new videos. And today we're going to be doing a bit of a tutorial about how to build a pitching rotation, particularly starting rotation, but just pitching staff in general. It is very difficult to do. I've always found that the most I've had a hard time. Hitters, you get an idea of what you're getting, and you can have sort of guys that on base percentage guys, and then some power behind them, and you can kind of do that and use one-dimensional players to get some runs. But pitching is not that difficult. It's not that easy, I should say. It's much more difficult, and it can be quite expensive. Now, if we go and have a look at the way that the Mets have put this pitching staff together, and it's expensive. They've spent a lot of money to get something that's considered a decent pitching staff, and 87 million for two starters, with a combined age of almost 80. I mean, that can go very wrong, can't it? Injuries happen, of course, with pitchers as well, and I just think I find it very difficult to get a staff together. Now, one thing I would maybe not advise doing is to go and get the free agents, which is what they've done here, for example, with Verlander. Now, Verlander may well be an exception, but he's expensive, he's old, and they've got him for what? He's going to be 43 or so when his contract is up. That's a big risk of money and all that kind of stuff. Now, one thing I would say, never ever sign a pitcher who's fragile on big money anyway, certainly. At least, if the health status is better than fragile, then you can have some faith that they're not going to sort of end up spending most of the time that they're with you on the IL. Now, how do you build a pitching staff then? Well, it's difficult because scouting, I always find, not scouting, but drafting pitchers, they don't always develop in the way that you would expect them to. You can definitely help this by getting the best coaching staff you can, but I found that a good pitcher that you draft isn't always a good pitcher that makes the majors. And likewise, you can have what I call the Mario Morales situation where, well, this happens. So if we go back to Out of the Park Baseball 23, this is Mario Morales. Now you can see he is an absolutely stunning pitcher. He's 23, and if we just have a bit of a zoom in over here, he was a 17th round, 533rd pick in the draft. So he was not expected to be anything at all, and he's destined for the Hall of Fame if he stays fit and just pitches up to his ability there. He has just been absolutely amazing, and that is why I say pitchers, you don't necessarily need to go and sign massive free agent signings, because you will get one or two like this. He's not the only guy. This is the best example, but I have had other guys that have turned out massive improvement like that as well. The reason I say too about the draft is this is the counter example of Morales. Meet Tommy Groom. He was a first round, 3rd overall pick. He was supposed to be an absolute star, and you can see he's now playing A ball, and he's doing it adequately, but certainly nothing more than that. So, yeah. Drafting pitchers is a very, very hit and miss compared to batters. So I guess that then begs the question, so how do you build a pitching rotation then? Well, the way that I found it that's sort of most successful is just try and get relievers that could be starting pitchers. Now, I've just randomly gone through and found this guy, Minnesota Twins. Now, the reason I say get relievers is because they're not particularly valuable. But this guy, I mean, he's considered a borderline starter. You'd want maybe a little bit more stamina, ideally, sort of 50, 55, the minimum. But if we were to go and trade for him, we can see here, if we go trade for player, make this work now, and we're going to be able to get like a 2-star starting pitcher potentially who's 27. Is he ever going to make it? Possibly not. He's a AAA guy. So if we were to do that trade, and one thing that you can also do if we just go and add him in is, when you do a trade, maybe not this particular one, but if we go to just sort of whatever 40-man list here, is maybe just always try and add in a add in a relief pitcher. Now, because this is a relatively low-key trade, it's maybe not going to quite work out as we would like. But yeah, if you just add in a relief pitcher, and another guy here, for example, that I mean, he doesn't have the stamina, so it's a bad example. But if you take a little bit of time and you go and you find these relievers that can be starters, and you know, you just build them up, get as many in as you can, and yeah, use the coaching, and you will may perhaps find, if we go and complete this trade, that you do actually find a couple of you know, good starting pitchers like this. Now, if you did this a few times, so if you go to a starting pitcher, he drops off a little bit, but I mean, that can change over time. He's not a terrible starting pitcher, you know. His control maybe isn't great, but if you're looking for a number 4-5 guy in the rotation, this guy could do a job for you. So again, I'm not saying go and sign this particular guy. I literally just found a relief pitcher at random, but you can see that by doing that, you get a solid enough rotation to start with. You get your Stardust. You might find, you know, you do have 1 or 2 in the system already that improve to be major league quality, and it can really be a way to build a solid rotation on the cheap. And if we go and just stick him up in the major league team for a moment. Now, obviously, the Mets have a pretty good rotation as it is, but yeah, it's a good way to. I mean, is he any worse than this guy? He has a sort of a less maybe less pitches, but he's not terrible, is he? So that's how I do it, and well, I guess jury's out if it works for me or not, if you've watched any of the series. But what you know, I do generally, and in the end, get a fairly solid pitching staff going. So maybe not the bullpen so much, but starting rotation wise, we're usually fairly solid. So yeah, that's how I'd recommend doing it. Combine that with some good coaching staff. Now I'm going to do a tutorial on that right here, and if you want to join me to see how we get on with the All Canadian Blue Jays, then do that as well. Otherwise, if this has been helpful, thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.